President Trump and National Security Advisor Michael Waltz hitting back against a bombshell report earlier today. The Atlantic's editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg, was accidentally added to a group chat with Trump cabinet members on the encrypted app Signal. Goldberg claims he was privy to minute-by-minute war plans about strikes to take out Houthi terrorists in Yemen. Trump and Waltz reacting earlier.
The main thing was nothing happened. The attack was totally successful. This was not classified. Now, if it's classified information, it's probably a little bit different. But I always say you have to learn from every experience. I think it was very unfair the way they attacked Michael. He's a good person. The person that was on just happens to be a sleazebag. Everybody else seems to be using it. It seems to be the #1 used device or app. It was up to me, everybody would be sitting in a room together. The room would have solid lead walls and a lead ceiling and a lead floor. But, you know, life doesn't always let you do that. I don't think he should apologize. I think he's doing his best. It's equipment and technology that's not perfect.
I think there's a lot of journalists in this city who have made big names for themselves, making up lies about this president we've never met, don't know, never communicated with, and we are looking into and reviewing how the heck he got into this room.
Meanwhile, Democrats and the media are demanding heads roll for the mishap.
I was shocked, and I was without words.
Texting war plans, it is something we've never quite seen before. So simple, so easy, so sloppy.
Obviously reckless, obviously dangerous.
It would be comical if it wasn't so serious and so dangerous. It's a completely reckless disregard for protocol.
Just shocking.
This sloppiness, this incompetence, this disrespect.
It is so stunning and so incompetent and so dangerous. My guess is that this is probably the tip of the iceberg.
What should happen here? Should we be saying lock them up?
And even Hillary Clinton is fuming over the story, saying, "You've got to be kidding me." Jesse, I like the way the president handled it because I think on something like this, just take it head on, deal with it, and say that obviously he's talked to everybody in the room, and maybe we need a new way to communicate in the government. Perhaps Elon Musk can help them with that. But I noted that somebody brought up yesterday, Eric Swalwell is calling on these guys to resign. I'm not sure if that's the best messenger after his troubles.
They sleep with spies. They let spies drive them around. They keep classified documents in open garages while their crackhead son's compromised by the Chinese, and he's in and out of there with girlfriends at the dead of night. Okay. Nobody died except for terrorists. They accidentally put an American reporter on a group chat, and not a good reporter, not our very own stupid son of a bitch, Peter Doocy. They put on the worst reporter in Washington. And he had the story for a week and then dropped it the day before. Basically, half the people on the group text testified. So you have that. But listen, it didn't look like anybody was two-faced on the text. Everybody was professional, thoughtful, America first. They were really wrestling with the question over why is the United States ensuring shipping for our allies that are screwing us on trade and not paying their NATO dues? Why are they getting a free ride? What are we getting in return? And that's really going to be the question that America has to ask ourselves in the next 50 years. But how do you get on the text? A staffer accidentally put him on the text. He wouldn't have sabotaged us and put this guy on the text on purpose, but they'll investigate it. I don't know. This is a very transparent administration, and I really like what the president said. He said we screwed up.
Yeah.
Won't happen again. It's not like they had 13 people die and say it was a success, or just blow open the border, get Americans killed, and call it the most secure border ever. But most importantly, Dana, I love the emoji game. American flag, fire, fist bump, good stuff.
Richard, one thing about Goldberg is he waited, yes, until before the hearing, but he also didn't do anything to disrupt the operation or the possible sources and methods of the people who might have been helping inform us to get that done appropriately.
I think that's right. And he also has not released, he hasn't released any screenshots. He's, said, I thought this was classified. I left the chat because I was unsure of what information I was receiving. He did report it. But I think that's sort of noble of him. And listen, I think that Mike Waltz might be a good guy. I can't, attest to his character. But I do believe that, this communication is indeed troubling, that you have a lot of our top tier national security individuals on this chat, not sure who else is on this chat. And to the president's point, he prefers it to happen in a room that has lead walls and that room that's more secure. That there is one of those. It's called the Situation Room, and this conversation could have happened there, or it could happen in the SCIF. Right, a secure room. There's tons of them around Washington, D.C. Most of the buildings where these individuals manage their teams have a SCIF. They could have done this meeting in person at a SCIF. Beyond that, throughout our national security apparatus, there's tons of different vehicles for this type of secure communications to happen outside of Signal, which all of us have on our phones right now. So there's multiple different ways to do this conversation. So I think the reason why people are reacting the way they're reacting is because they chose a retail app that everybody has on their phone instead of many of the other avenues that exist as part of the federal government apparatus to have this conversation. And I think the reason why folks are saying that maybe a head should roll is because during the Biden administration was critiqued for not firing people fast enough, not saying people made a mistake and they should be let go. And, Donald Trump was I think he might have a copyright on "you're fired." Yeah. Maybe you should use that copyright now to say somebody should, even if it's a junior staffer, for making a mistake like this, because how about if it wasn't a journalist and it was somebody else who wants to compromise the United States? And they're watching all of our top tier national security officials engage in a conversation about how to deal with our foreign allies, or maybe not so our allies, right, in this particular conversation. And that is what it's indeed troubling to me.
Yeah, well, I guess if you're a junior staffer and you do this and you have a security clearance, it might jeopardize your job.
Yeah.
I take your point.
It does jeopardize your job.
Yeah, and you might not be promoted and on and on. So, Judge.
Okay. A couple of things. We're 2 months into this administration, okay? And what you have are people, and what struck me is that what they were saying in this communication on Signal, which is, I understand, the best of the encrypted communications that you can get on a phone, is something that they're saying publicly. And I think that Americans should be comforted by that they aren't saying one thing to the public and then going back behind walls and saying something different. And it's what the president was saying. I mean, the president has been saying, the proxies have to go, the Houthis have to go, Iran is behind it. Everything that the president has been saying is what was in this communication. And they talked about how the Houthis are tying up the trade and making it almost impossible for not just Americans, but for the Europeans. But they were talking about when. Not specific longitude and latitude and all that other stuff. And they were smart enough to say, if you read the article, that let's communicate on the high side, which meant that they recognized that when there were things that were classified, they had to communicate via another instrument. So in addition to that, Trump is clearly, as you said, Dana, he's taking it seriously. We're going to learn from it. Nothing shared was classified. The strikes were successful. No one was hurt. And the truth is that for 4 years, Biden allowed our soldiers to be hit by the Houthis. Several died. Many are suffering from lifelong traumatic brain injuries. And we're seeing transparency in a way that is, I think people should be comforted by. And in the end, let's make it clear that this particular writer is the one who we know lied about Donald Trump. And so I'm not impressed with him at all. And I like that the president stood up for Mike Waltz. I like that he said, this is a guy who believes in the country, who's working hard, and we're going to keep him. And we all learned.
Greg Gutfeld, last word.
Well, this was bound to happen. There's so many great things happening so fast at blinding speed. It's overwhelming to the media. It's overwhelming to a lot of people that you almost needed just a misstep to keep the media from committing suicide. Because now they can act like what they really are, hand-wringing journalists. God forbid that they would report on the good things that are going on. They suddenly discovered their vocation. When a story, as always, is delivered to them in their laps, and it's not about Democrats, suddenly they get up from their desks, they stop doom scrolling and report the news. I think there's a key point that has been overlooked. Wasn't it preloaded on their phone? Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. So what does that tell you? There's no secure government alternative to Signal. There isn't a way for a dozen people to talk on their own timeline, i.e. group chat, as we kids like to call it. Mm-hmm. That's secure. I mean, why is it on the phone? Trump said, yeah, in the perfect world, you'd have it in this separate room, but that doesn't exist if you have 12 people all over the place. But here's the bigger context. When you have the highest possible goal, your aim, and you choose to act on that aim, you incur a risk for error. That's how winners live their lives. But you can avoid that risk for error by doing nothing. Like what Biden did with the border. No act, no foul. Like it has been the bone of contention under Trump. They don't go after his aims because they fall in line with America's aims, so they go after the process. He's going too fast. It's too sloppy. That's because Trump does more stuff in a day than Biden did in his career. So for mistakes to happen, you have to act on an aim, and you have to have a will to act on it, which was missing the last 4 years. Thousands of errors Biden didn't make because the White House was one giant, deliberate act of negligence. You know, they didn't seal the border. They didn't reduce crime. They didn't get men out of women's sports. They didn't fight inflation. No act, no foul, right? Perhaps we were lucky that they ignored the problems. It could have been worse. But Biden made no mistake capturing the Abbey Gate bomber because he didn't try. You know, he didn't make any mistakes trying to capture America's 10 most wanted criminals because they didn't try. He didn't make any mistakes when it came to deporting gangs because he didn't try. So for the next 4 years, you will hear of mistakes being made left and right, big ones, little ones, because the aims of the White House are so good, all you have left as an angry media is to go after the process. But Americans know the choice. Do you want a leader with noble aims who will take a risk in the name of America first? There might be some mistakes made. Or do you want a leader who did nothing but oversee the decline of a country, a charade that was collaborated on by the very outraged media that you're seeing now? What they did under Biden makes this signal thing look like a pimple on an ant's ass.
I would say they actually did do one thing. They caused inflation.
Yes.
By passing the so-called Inflation Reduction Act and adding the Green New Deal to it.
Good point,
which
Dana.
we are still paying for.
Yeah.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.